A bad movie review is one of the most primordial forces on the face of the net. A force so powerful and so concentrated, it can rip the asphalt off of a 6-lane highway. Well, metaphorically speaking. Literally, it can devastate a film's box office potential. It can even bankrupt an entire movie studio. At the same time, a good movie review is one of the most awe-inspiring sights one can witness on YouTube, full of majesty, mystery, and probably a sponsored ad read or two. I'm John Paula. I play a film critic determined to confront that mystery by watching and reviewing both films in the Twister series. So fire up, Dorothy, strap your belt to some pump house pipes, and get ready to wrangle some tornadoes. Because this is movie night. Hello and welcome to Movie Night. My name is Jonathan Paula. Even though I'm back from my hiatus, videos here are still going to be sporadic and a bit random, so make sure you turn on notifications so you don't miss an upload. For tonight's episode, to celebrate the recently released entry in the Twisterverse, which is definitely a thing people are calling it, we're going to be taking a look at both Twisters films, beginning with the original from 1996, which I first reviewed here on the channel back in 2011. But my thoughts have improved a bit since then, and certainly so have my reviewing capabilities. So here again are my thoughts on Twister. Impressive audiovisual thrills. Released on May 10th, 1996, this is the second film from cinematographer-turned-director Jan de Bont, following 1994's Speed, who oversaw Twister's rather tumultuous $90 million production. Dangerous conditions and uncooperative weather made for a tense set, with 20 crew members quitting in protest, while its stars nearly went blind from special lights used during filming. But somehow, the PG-13 rated picture completed principal photography in just 82 days, and became the second highest grossing film of the year, behind Independence Day, with a massive worldwide gross of $495 million. The well-paced 113-minute story follows Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton as two estranged storm chasers on the brink of divorce who must work together to test an advanced weather alert system by putting themselves directly in the path of violent tornadoes. The Mad About You star shines in the action-packed experience with a performance brimming with ambition, excitement, and stubbornness. Meanwhile, the dearly departed Paxton is wonderful as her opposite, whose attempts at safety and pragmatism are quickly overpowered by his childlike enthusiasm. Jamie Gertz does commendable work in the thankless role of Bill's sex therapist fiancée, who begrudgingly tags along for the ride, forced to watch her man rekindle his relationship with Hunt right in front of her, all while being constantly traumatized by the ferocious weather events happening all around them. Narratively, her role serves as the audience proxy, as she's the main target for all of the movie's Fujita scale-related exposition, but emotionally, she's kind of a wet blanket that only ever complains. Despite her best efforts, Gertz was nominated, perhaps unfairly, for the Worst Supporting Actress Golden Raspberry Award. Elsewhere, you have Cary Elwes as the rival storm chaser. Although third billed, he's hardly in the movie for more than a few minutes. He's meant to be seen as the bad guy after Paxton contemptuously introduces him by saying,
"He's in it for the money, not the science."
And that science is important. You gotta get those Pepsi-looking colored dots recorded on your clunky 90s-era laptop somehow. Otherwise, Hunt's daddy would have been sucked into that F5 during the film's cold open in vain. The rest of the ensemble cast is overstuffed with underdeveloped characters. Talented and accomplished actors like Jeremy Davies, Patrick Fischler, and Joey Slotnick have maybe 5 lines of dialogue between them. For example, the credits list 2 separate characters as Stanley and Kubrick, an obvious nod to the famous director whose classic horror film The Shining is memorably featured during this film's terrifying drive-in sequence. But Stanley and Kubrick are literally never mentioned by name once in the film. Now, having a dozen extra characters that don't do anything isn't the worst mistake a movie can make, but it's emblematic of poor script economy and an easy thing to fix. Besides Bill and Helen, the team consists of 8 different storm-chasing misfits, who could and should have been condensed into Philip Seymour Hoffman's fun and eccentric Dusty, or Alan Ruck's human GPS character Rabbit.
Red meat, we crave sustenance.
Guys, we are not invading my aunt.
Food.
Hey! We're absolutely not going.
Everyone else is disposable. Like, did you know that Anthony Rapp and Jake Busey are in this movie? I've seen it 4 times and I had to look frame by frame to find them. We follow these 2 large groups of storm chasers during a wild 24-hour period in Oklahoma, where they find themselves cowering from the destructive force of 4 separate tornado incidents. But little of it feels particularly tense or dramatic, as all of the characters miraculously survive every stormy encounter completely unscathed. Well, almost. One of the aforementioned nameless background guys gets his head sliced by flying metal debris, but don't worry, Hunt puts a napkin on it and he's perfectly fine in the next scene. Like, why is this movie filled with so many characters if none of them are going to be killed? You'd think, okay, surely all of these extra people are going to die one at a time to help demonstrate the deadly threat and provide us with some gratuitous death scenes, right? Wrong. Come on, de Bont, this is a disaster movie. Let's see some actual stakes instead of preposterous survivals. Underneath it all, we're treated to a romantic angle between Bill and Helen. which, coupled with her traumatic past, provides some interesting backstory. But frankly, there's little meat on this bone. It's fitting that Twister was turned into a, now sadly defunct, first-rate attraction at Universal Studios, because this feature film truly does feel like a theme park ride. Low on exposition and high on action. It's big, loud, and fast. At times, it feels more like a VFX showcase than a narrative film. Until the standalone sequel was greenlit, however, Twister's most lasting legacy was perhaps inspiring a 10% increase in meteorology degree enrollments across US colleges. And another fun fact, Twister has the notable distinction of being the first movie ever released on DVD, and the last ever released on the HD DVD format. Twister was also nominated for 2 Oscars, Best Visual Effects and Best Sound, but lost both at the 69th Annual Academy Awards. Still, that shot of a cow flying through the air remains an iconic image to this day. Couple that with a tremendous surround sound mix, and this is one film that deserves to be heard on the loudest speakers possible. To say nothing of Mark Mancina's bombastic Western-inspired score, or the accompanying rock soundtrack album with new music from Van Halen. Both are excellent. Also, quick sidebar, remember when movies used to have tie-in albums with new music from famous artists? Like Batman and Robin, Last Action Hero, or the Godzilla soundtracks? We used to be a society! I miss the 90s. Anyway, let's wrap up. Twister overcomes its bloated cast and shallow plotting to deliver an intense and entertaining experience. I definitely have a soft spot for this one, so despite its many shortcomings, I'm rating it a cool. A real classic of the disaster genre. And we'll find out how it stacks up against its successor right after this quick promo. Figuring out what food to make every night can be a hassle. That's where HelloFresh comes in. My family has tried a bunch of different meal delivery subscription services like Blue Apron, EveryPlate, Dinnerly, Home Chef, and even some offered by our local grocery store. But our favorite, by far, is HelloFresh. They not only have the best variety of dishes, but also the best tasting. After selecting your dietary preferences and picking your recipes, a box of individually wrapped ingredient kits will arrive on your doorstep in a few days. With the easy-to-understand menu cards and unique recipes, you'll be cooking quality, restaurant-style meals in no time. The DIY pork dumplings are a personal favorite. Then there's the crispy cheddar Frico cheeseburgers with caramelized onion jam. Ooh, or the Southwestern stuffed peppers, a blast to eat and simple to make. And that's what I love about it. Even I can cook quality meals. And so can you. I'm giving away a free box of HelloFresh to the first 10 people that sign up using my referral link below. Groceries are expensive these days, so do yourself a favor and redeem a free meal on me. You just need to pay for shipping. Thanks as always for listening to these ads and supporting the show. Now let's get back to the reviews with my thoughts on Twisters. This absolutely rips. Directed by Lee Isaac Chung, Twisters was released nationwide on July 19, 2024, and is a standalone sequel to Twister. But besides its title and a brief cameo of the Dorothy sensor tech, this PG-13 rated story shares zero connection to the '96 film. It serves the long-dormant disaster genre, and is certainly a gamble by Universal, Warner Brothers, and Amblin, as it's carrying a production budget reportedly as high as $200 million. Personally though, I like its chances to make that money back because it could be a surprise blockbuster hit. The 122-minute story follows Daisy Edgar Jones as a New York City meteorologist who is persuaded to return to her home of Oklahoma 5 years after surviving a devastating encounter with a tornado. Back in the Sooner State, she'll have to work with new technologies and a new team, including Glenn Powell as a hotshot influencer who calls himself a tornado wrangler. Confidently sharing his philosophy on life, he remarks, "You don't face your fears, you ride them." Right off the bat, let me just say, Glenn's the real deal. Whatever nebulous type of riz makes someone a movie star, this guy's got it. And if this movie does as well as I expect it to, he'll be writing his own checks from here on out. And Daisy's no slouch either, commanding the screen with a vulnerability and energy that is so crucial to the film's success. The pair boast stellar chemistry too, from a flirtatious rivalry that begets mutual respect and admiration.
You thought you could destroy a tornado.
We never had a chance.
You want one?
A small moment when Powell quietly asks an embedded journalist for a copy of a picture he's snapping of Edgar Jones is such a perfect bit of screenwriting. Anthony Ramos, meanwhile, provides a more nuanced performance as something of a third wheel, balancing his friendship with Daisy with his well-funded quest for storm data. His motivations aren't completely clear at first, making his character more interesting than anything glimpsed in the original film. And I especially like that almost none of this story's conflict is derived from the rivalry between the different storm teams, but instead from their complex interpersonal relationships and emotional baggage. Joseph Kosinski's story isn't doing deep character work or anything, but they felt real, and that worked for me. I was pleased to see Maura Tierney show up in a brief but endearing role as well. And then there's another dozen or so background storm chasers who are little more than thinly constructed stereotypes. They're all fine, if forgettable, and at least they don't feel as interchangeable as their 1996 counterparts. But a moment when their team heroically decides to abandon their research mission to help the townspeople did ring a bit cheesy. But this movie isn't called Chasers, it's called Twisters. People want to see Mother Nature tear stuff apart. and boy does Chunk succeed there. From the frightening cold open that ruthlessly dispatches characters like last week's Leftovers, it is obvious this sequel has a more realistic approach to the survivability of an EF5 tornado. Like, we see quite a few people meet untimely ends. It's such an obvious and simple decision, but improves the film considerably. There's flying debris, fire tornadoes, and roofs peeling off of things. It's all pretty great.
Holy,
You ever see anything like this?
not like this.
Hold on, hold on, hold on!
But despite this constant meteorological chaos, the action remains easy to follow thanks to clean photography and careful edits. Plus, the sound and VFX used to accomplish these monster storms is so overwhelming, realistic, and visceral, it's impossible to feel comfortable. This added tension makes for a very harrowing experience. Thankfully though, it isn't all doom and gloom, as the movie's quieter moments are imbued with just enough humor and levity that you're able to relax and breathe for a few moments. It's good pacing. Easily superior to its predecessor, Twisters puts its likable characters in terrifying situations to deliver an incredible thrill ride. I thought it was awesome. Go and see this on the biggest and loudest screen available. If you can upgrade to D-Box or 4DX, even better. That will do it for this episode of Movie Night, but if you'd like to watch more content from me, please check out the recent Let's Play series I just finished producing on the video game Riven over on my John's World channel. Click or tap the thumbnails on the left to check that out. I'll be back again on this channel soon with more reviews, so do not go anywhere. Once again, my name is Jonathan Paula, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good movie night.